Welcome to my video about making a swivel keyring. I had a big bunch of keys, more than you can see on the screen there, and it was getting on my nerves. So I just wanted one of these little swivel keyrings to make things easier. So I've got a piece of scrap leather here, and I'm going to cut out a strip which is 1 inch thick and 8 inches long, or for those of us who use metric, about 25 by 200 mil. In terms of weight, the leather's about 3 mil thick, and it's just a scrap that I bought from eBay for £3 or £4, something like that, for the piece. The next step is using a coin or a washer, as I'm using here. You just want to carefully round off all of the corners. Now, depending on the leather you're using, I want to dye my leather, and actually before I dye it, I'm gonna have a go at stamping it as well with a maker's mark. And both of these steps are completely optional. You don't need to do any. You might already have pre-dyed leather or pre-finished leather, or you might not want to stamp it with anything or tool it in any way. So that's entirely up to you. So just in case you're wondering, what I am doing here is just wetting the leather down, casing it, ready to accept the stamp. It makes it much easier to make an impression with the stamp. It's not really obvious from the video here, but I'm hitting this really quite hard. You want to make a really good impression. And actually what I have found is that it can be quite difficult. So I have had better success using a clamp to make the impression on some cases, but it does work, but you do need to hit it quite firmly. So I've decided it'd be better to punch the holes for the posts before I dye it, and I've done it about 6 mil in from the ends, about 1/4 of an inch, and then bang in the center, so 1/2 an inch from either side. So the posts are known as Chicago screws or binding posts. The ones I'm using are 20 mil long, and they have a 3 mil barrel, so I'm punching a 3 mil hole for them to go through. You can get wider ones, but the wider ones you may struggle to get them through some of the keys. So I found that the 3 mil ones are best. So I'm a bit off screen there. Now it really is time to dye the leather now, and I'm going to use this Phoebing's red leather dye. I apply it neat, straight onto the leather. Make sure that the coverage is pretty even, and then give it a good buff. So one thing I didn't do on this keyring that I probably wish I had done is to bevel the edges. You really do need to do that before you apply the dye, because obviously you'll expose the undyed leather again if you do that afterwards. And then when you bevel the edges, you can burnish them as well, which gives a really good finish. You can burnish over the dye, and that will work, but beveling them is, I think, really a better option. Not everybody dyes the back of the leather, but I do prefer the effect when the back of the leather is dyed the same colour as the front. So here I'm just burnishing the edges. If you haven't got a burnisher, if you just got a smooth round piece of wood, you could use that, or even probably the back of a spoon. I've not really tried it, but I don't see why it wouldn't work. Probably not a spoon that you're going to use in daily cooking, but you really, all you're trying to do is flatten down the fibres and give a nice finish, and just protect the edges. So it's time to put the Chicago post in. Pretty much finished, really. As I say, I think these are 20mm long. They're definitely 3mm wide. They might be 15mm long actually, 15 or 20mm. Just checking to see if any are longer than the others. Yeah, I think they're 15mm, aren't they? They're not wide enough. They're not long enough to be 20. It should be quite a firm fit, as you see there. So I decided here just to take out a small nick in the centre to allow a normal keyring, just a round keyring, to be attached. And the reason for that was I wanted to attach my car key to the keyring, but I didn't want to, the car key's too big and chunky to actually go inside the swivel part of the key fob. So I just cut out a little nick from each side just to make it a little bit narrower so that it would accept the keyring. So that's what I'm doing here, just doing that and cleaning it up a little bit. obviously I will need to just touch up the die where I've cut through it here. The other option would be to add a D-ring, just like a D-shaped ring that you could then attach a key ring to for the car key. So I finished the cutout and touched up the die, so now it's time for assembly. First of all, just to squeeze on the keyring, you just have to sort of bend the leather a little bit just to get it on, and once it gets down to the middle part, it'll sit nicely. And then just flatten the leather back out again, and then add the keys onto the post. So the long post's already in. So you can also add in washers as spacers if you need to. And actually, it probably is a good idea to do that. It does help to to keep everything together. And then it's just a case of screwing the post together. You start it off by hand, and then just use a screwdriver or a coin to give it a final tighten up, or the trusty washer in my case, and then it's done. So I'll put a couple of photos on at the end, just to show a couple of stills, just to show what it looks like with a nicer background. But thanks for watching, and please feel free to comment if you've got any suggestions as to how it could be improved. And see you soon. Thank you.